Welcome to paradise. Hello YouTube, my name's John. I'm 63 years old. I live in the beautiful state of Idaho, and my greatest passion in life is bass fishing. So why would an old man from Idaho create a YouTube channel about bass fishing? Well, I'm going to tell you in a minute, but first let me tell you why I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it to make money. This is a very specialized audience I'm trying to target, so if I get 10 people to subscribe to this channel, I'll consider it successful. I'm also not doing it to teach you how to catch more bass. I figure if you're watching this, you're probably as passionate about this as I am, so you already know as much as I do. This is not really an educational channel. If you're looking for people to teach you techniques and how to catch more fish, there's countless YouTube channels with guys that have forgotten more about this than I'll ever know. So that's not it either. So why am I doing this? Well, I'll give you the short answer. When I was 60 years old, I decided, I was planning the rest of my life, and I decided when I hit 65, I'm going to retire, and I'm going to take a year and I'm going to fish the state of Idaho, because believe it or not, this is my 19th year here, and in my first 18 years, I've spent probably 95% of my fishing time on this lake and on one river. When I first moved here, 2003, I was fishing every lake around here that I could, once, sometimes twice. After a few years, I just focused in on this lake, 65,000 surface acres, and I decided I was going to learn every square inch of it, spring, summer, and fall. And that's what I've done, but I haven't really explored the state. So my plan was, at 65, to fish 1 year. Then after that year, I was going to start a nonprofit company. I was going to give back to low-income families. I was going to help. It was like a service-oriented business. And that was going to be like a full-time job, even though I won't be making any money. So that was my plan until the spring of 2020, when I heard that Aaron Martens had been diagnosed with brain cancer. And when I read the story, I knew he'd been given a death sentence, and he was in his 40s. And I started thinking, you know, what makes me think I'm going to live to be 65 and do all these things? So I made a decision at that point that I was going to retire at the end of 2020, when I was going to be 62. And in 2021, I was going to fish the state. And in 2022, I was going to start my nonprofit. And I followed through on some of it. I retired at the end of 2020 at the age of 62. In 2021, I got out all my topographical maps that I had saved up over the years. And the first one that jumped out at me was the Columbia River, which doesn't run through Idaho. But when I first came up here, I fished it one time and I had a good time. So I decided, well, I'm going to start on the Columbia River in Tri-Cities, Washington, and I'll go from there. So I did. I spent 3 days on the Columbia. When I came back, for some reason, I never followed through. I kept fishing this lake and the Ponderay River, and the year flew by. The older you get, the faster the years go. And then November, I read that Aaron died. And it hit me pretty hard. And I'll tell you later on in the video, if you're interested, why he had such an influence on me. But I got angry at myself that I let another year go by. So I vowed 2022, I'm fishing the state of Idaho, come hell or high water. So that explains what my plan is for 2022. I'm planning on fishing the state. Why am I putting it on YouTube? Well, after Aaron died, I started reading all these tributes coming into him about how he was so giving of his time and his knowledge to strangers, and I thought, that was his small way of giving back. And how could I incorporate my adventure in 2022 and somehow give back at the same time? And I came up with the idea that there's probably a lot of guys out there who have the same passion for this that I do, but they don't get to do it that much because, working a full-time job, you can't fish during the week. If you're raising a family, your weekends are not always available. And up here, we're a 9-month season. We don't get to fish 12 months a year. So I decided I'll take you with me on these adventures, and I'll make a video of them. And maybe in some small way I'm giving back to strangers. I'll try to entertain you as best I can. The plan is this. I don't really think it's that much fun to watch a guy whack fish after fish. I never thought that was fun. In fact, even in my fishing, I have spots on this lake that certain times of the year, I can run over there and I know I can just catch a ton of fish. That doesn't even interest me, because to me that's like fishing in a swimming pool. I mean, they're there, you know what to throw. I don't see the challenge in that. I'm always looking for that spot somewhere else on the lake. And so what I'm going to do, because these lakes are going to be lakes I've either never seen before or maybe once or twice years ago when I first moved here. So they're going to be unfamiliar bodies of water. And the video is going to be as much about breaking down the lake, trying to find a pattern, trying to zero in the strategies and all that, as much as if I catch fish. I'll obviously document the fish that I catch. But I wanted to make it entertaining by fishing the same lake 2 days in a row. The first day I'm going to fish as if it's a pre-fish for a tournament. So we're not going to stick every fish. We're going to try to find fish, mark spots, come up with a game plan. I'm going to come back the following day and I'm going to fish 8 hours, weigh every fish I catch, and see what my 5 fish, my best 5 would weigh at the end of that day, and treat it as if it was a one-day tournament. Hopefully you'll find that entertaining. If it's something that interests you, there's a subscribe button and a notification bell. So if you hit those, and every time I make a video, you'll be notified. Now, it's possible you're watching this and 2022 has passed. Then if you hit the subscribe button, it'll show all the videos that I made this year, and you can go through and watch them if you want. This is a one-year project. After this year, I won't be doing this anymore, so it's 2022 only. So if you're interested, subscribe, and hopefully I can entertain you a little bit. If you want to stick around for the rest of this video, I will give you some background on the influence that not only Aaron Martens, but his mother Carol and a guy named Don Iavino, the three of them are the reason why I do this. And I've been doing it for 25 years. So I'll tell you about that. And for the rest of you, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want, and I'll see you on the water. Okay, well, if you're still here, let me tell you the story of Aaron. When he died last November, and I didn't hear about it till about a week after he died. I had been checking the internet for updates on his health, and then I found out he died, and it hit me pretty hard. I only met him one time, but when I found out he died, I went and sat in my living room in total silence, and for about an hour, all these memories came back to me. I grew up in Southern California. I spent 40 years there, and I was remembering things I had completely forgotten. I won't share them all with you because it would take too long, but just to give you an idea, we grew up in Orange County in the 60s and 70s, And there was a lake there called Anaheim Lake. And my dad used to take me and my brother there. It was one of these small man-made lakes, and they stocked it with trout. You know, we'd go trout fishing, but it's why I had a passion, or not a passion, but I enjoyed fishing growing up. But then I got into hockey, and I played ice hockey in my 20s and my 30s and didn't fish at all anymore. But I think it was deep inside of me. I always had I enjoyed it. So one day, I can't remember dates exactly, but mid to late 90s, I'm sitting at home on a Saturday flipping through my TV, and there's a guy on TV and he's fishing. And I didn't know that they televised people fishing. I actually thought it was crazy. But he just happened to be talking at that moment about water clarity, water temperature, the weather, and he was putting this pattern together on what kind of lure he should throw. The guy's name was Bill Dance. Now, I don't know if Bill Dance is around anymore, but back then he was a big deal. And so I was fascinated by this kind of fishing, because me and my brother, we'd go trout fishing. You know, we used an egg sinker, a swivel, a leader, a treble hook, bait, cast it out, sit in the folding chair, wait for the rod to bend, reel in the fish. I never threw a horizontal bait in my life. So I watched him. After he was done, it was all day fishing. I saw Roland Martin, I saw Jimmy Houston, Orlando Wilson. I think there was one or two more. And at the end of that day, I wanted to do that. I wanted to bass fish. And I noticed they all had boats. So I called a buddy of mine who was an ocean fisherman, and I asked him, you know, I told him, I'm thinking of getting into this bass fishing. You want to go half and half on a bass boat with me? He said, yeah. So we bought a 17-foot tracker, flat bottom, aluminum bass boat with a 75 horsepower Mercury outboard. And we had no idea what we were doing. And we'd go fishing, and most of the time we wouldn't catch a thing. You know, sometimes we'd get one or two, no size at all. So after a while, my buddy said, you know what, this bass fishing thing isn't that much fun. I'm going back to ocean fishing. You want to buy out my portion of the boat? So I did, I agreed. So now I had a bass boat, but I wasn't having any fun either. So the boat sat in the garage, but the fishing rekindled my memories of when I was a kid. I went back to trout fishing, and they had lakes out there. I lived in Moreno Valley, and they had these small lakes out there that they would stock with trout, just like when I was a kid. I bought a folding chair, a rod holder, and went back to doing that, and I was catching trout. And so at that moment, bass fishing was done for me. I had no interest. Now one day I'm watching TV and I see a commercial for the Fred Hall Boat Show in Long Beach. And I didn't need a boat, I already had one, but they were showing all this activities that they did there, and I thought, you know, that looks like fun, I'm gonna go. So I went, and as fate would have it, I'm walking through the place, and there's a guy, I hear a guy talking over like an intercom. And I look over, and I didn't know who Aaron Martens was at the time, but it's Aaron Martens, and he's standing up on a platform, mic'd up with a rod, big aquarium in front of him with bass in it, and they had these bleachers there. And so I went and sat down, and his mother, Carol, was there, and I don't remember how we got talking, but she tells me that's her son, and it's the first time he's ever done one of these seminars. So I'm at Aaron Martens' first ever public seminar. So when he was done, I walked over with his mom and just kind of hung around, asked some questions. When I was done with that encounter, what I came away from it, he showed me how to drop shot. He told me about fishing offshore structure, which I had a sonar unit on that tracker. I think I turned it on twice. I had no idea how to use it. I was clueless. So, and then his mother tells me about the Juan Bass Pro-Am tournament circuit. And I was as surprised as I was when I saw Bill Dance on TV. I was more surprised when I found out that guys actually competed in fishing. I never heard of such a thing. But I was excited because I'd been competitively playing hockey for years. So she explained it to me. You know, you sign up as an amateur, you got a pro, you sit in the back of his boat. She said, and it's a team event, so he's going to teach you stuff because he wants you to catch fish. Man, that sounded great to me. So I walked away. Now I'm thinking I'm going to sign up for the pro-ams. Don't even have to use my boat. I'm going to learn from those guys. I'm going to learn the drop shot. I lived 10 minutes from the gate at Lake Paris, and I was gonna learn. So I'm walking around and I come across this guy, Don Iavino, and he's sitting there selling stuff at a booth. And I got to talking to him, and I didn't know who he was at the time either, but he was like the sonar finesse fishing guru of his time. So I started picking his brain about the sonar, because I just came from Aaron, and I'm thinking, you know, the drop shot, the sonar, and the guy had a passion for it. He loved to talk about it, and he loved to tell you how important it was. And I spent a lot of time talking to Don. What I would do is I'd be picking his brain, then someone would walk up and I'd back off and I'd let them conduct business. And then when it was empty again, I'd start asking him more questions. And what I learned from him was I needed to go home and I needed to learn that sonar. I needed to know how to set it up, all the settings, and then how to interpret what I was reading. These were pretty primitive back then. We didn't have GPS. We used to have these plastic buoys with 50 feet of string and a piece of lead on it, and when you saw something on your sonar, you tossed it over. The lead went to the bottom, and you had a thing sitting on top that marked your spot. And he explained all that to me. I told him I lived near Lake Paris, and he tells me this story. He's idling near the dam one day at Lake Paris, sees a big mark on his screen, drops down, I think it was 6-pound test and a 3-inch plastic something, catches a 10-pounder on Lake Paris. So he told me, don't let anybody tell you can't catch big fish on small baits, because that isn't true. So anyway, that's how I got into this. I ended up, I learned that sonar inside out. I went on Lake Paris. I spent hours just setting it up, interpreting, learned the drop shot, started catching fish, went to the pro-ams, learned a ton from those guys. Got into team tournaments. I met a guy named Rob down in San Diego, and we became team partners. And it just went from there. I left actually in 2002. I traded in that tracker and I bought this boat. This is a 2001 Ranger 520 that I've had ever since. If this was a human being, she would be able to drink this year. She's turning 21. So had so many memories in this boat, and that's how I got into bass fishing. I've been doing it ever since. There's so many people. I remembered when I was sitting there in my living room thinking back. There was Dave Noller, a guy named Dave Noller. He was like the Lake Paris man. He even made a VHS tape about fishing Lake Paris. This was before we had DVDs. And I got to know him, one of the nicest human beings I've ever met in my life. One day I'll tell you some stories about Dave. The guy who sold me this boat, Joe Uribe Jr., he could have made it. He could have been an Aaron on the national stage, but he had when I knew Joe, he had a little boy, and I think his wife was pregnant. He had another one on the way, and he didn't want to relocate. His father was into bass fishing. I remember that, and so he wanted to stay local. But that guy knew his stuff, and I know he could have been a national fisherman. And I got stories about Joe. Just all these memories came. I swear to God, I sat there for over an hour, just on my couch in the silence, and just like remembering all these things. I'll share them maybe in future videos. Most people would be bored. If you have any Southern California bass fishing tournament background from the turn of the century, you might find some of the stories interesting. Names from the past. I don't know where they are or what they're doing these days, but there were quite a few. anyway, so that's how this all came about, and why Aaron was such it affected me so much when he died. I followed his career. When I came to Idaho, he was the only part of Southern California bass fishing that I kept with me, because he made it on the Bassmasters Trail. I'm going to say probably right when I was coming here, right in that time period. So when I got here, he was fishing nationally. So I'd watch, the Bassmaster was on, I think, ESPN at the time, and I'd watch him, root for him. Those of you that know his career know about the classic heartbreaks. Man, it killed me every single time. Not as bad as it killed him, but it hurt. It hurt. And so that's why when I found out about him, and he seemed like he was so healthy, and he was so young. He was 49 when he died. And so that's my motivation. That's why I'm doing this. And the next time I see you will be somewhere. I don't even know where yet. This is mid-March. I'm filming this. This is the first time I've been on this boat on the water in over 3 months. Now, if you have the passion for this like I do, I want you to imagine for a minute your boat's sitting in your garage for over 3 months and you can't go bass fishing. And then you get to come out. Now, I'm not even sure if I'm going to fish today. I might for a while. I came out to kind of shoot this intro. Just being out here, though, without a rod in my hand even, like, fills my soul. It's amazing. It's like I'm not alive until I'm on this boat, on the water. This is like, and if you have the passion, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's a beautiful day for us. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that's it. Next time I see you, I'll be somewhere, and we'll go over, like I said, it'll be day one. I'll get out the map. We'll talk about where I'm going to fish, why I'm going to fish it, and all that good stuff. And hopefully you'll find it entertaining. Okay, thanks for watching. See ya.